I was a Muslim and I was reading the Quran and the Bible. I was reading both of them at the same time in comparison. You can see the love, the sacrifice in the Bible, the love, the philosophy, the doctrine of Christ, of forgiveness, hope, mercy, the true difference between Islam and Christianity. In Islam, God sent his people to die for him, but in Christianity, God came to die for his own people.
I agree with that.
Even when you're reading with regard to human rights in the Quran, for example, like the way treating of women, the way that treating minorities, non-believers, the way that they treated the Jewish and Christians, for example. When you're reading the Quran and you see that they are calling the Jews monkeys and pigs. This is in the Quran. I know that the people would not understand, they would not maybe, no, come on now, that's not, it is. Now, I would tell you why this is dangerous. It's not about just insulting the Jews, forget about this part for a second. It's about dehumanizing them. And when you dehumanize somebody, that's the first sign of committing genocide against them, because it's easy to kill because they're not human. They're pigs and monkeys. So when you read all of this, when you read about women's rights, when you read that you have the right to beat a woman if she, your wife, if she refused to sleep with you, when you have a right to marry four, and after the four you can have slaves, وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. All of this will sit down logically as a human being, and you will sit down and say, there is something wrong here. I don't like that. This is not right. Because what is woman? Is my mom, is my sister, is my daughter, is my wife. So there is something wrong there. And when you go to Christ and his first miracle, what was his first miracle?
The water and wine.
And who forced him for this miracle?
Yes, exactly.
His mom. His respect, and he told her, I didn't start my ministry yet, but it was out of respect and love and honoring her.
What you're saying, any man in their right mind, anyone who has a conscience, anyone who can read this text, they can observe for themselves. They can see that one thing is negative and one thing is positive.
And the mind, especially when we're facing the persecution that's happening to the Christians around the world today, we have to be united. We have to understand how we can fight it, not in a revenge, in a loving way. We don't fight hate by hate, revenge by revenge, or evil by evil. We fight hate by love, revenge by forgiveness, and evil by the power of the living God.
But do Western countries even have the toolkit? Do you see a model where Western countries can live with Islam, or at least engage with it in a way that understands their values?
My brother, I need to tell you something.
Please.
Within our faith, we know that whoever will follow Christ will be facing persecution. North America is not far away from this persecution. We are in the first wave. The world divided to two zones, a conflict zone and a comfort zone. And the comfort zone was North America, Europe, Australia, you know. And the conflict zone, where is the persecution, where there is 186,000 Christians being killed every year, over 168,000 Christians being killed every year, between 200 to 300 million persecuted Christians in our world today. We have to remember one very important fact. This is the first wave of persecution. North America will face persecution. And this Muslim movement that you are talking about, and what we see today, especially after the war in Israel, will be the first igniting of real persecution. The immigration that we are facing, the subject of the immigration that we are facing today, have to be resolved. And there is one question that all the Arab countries and the Western countries have to answer. Why all of these Muslim immigrants not going to Saudi Arabia, not going to Qatar, not going to Bahrain? And these countries have more ability financially, better than Canada and United States. We have to take care of our safety, our security in our country, and in order for us to be able to help more. But if we open the doors of immigration to anybody that will hurt our society, will change the DNA of our society, we will end in a big wave of persecution. A lot of us start to feel that our country is being taken from us step by step, little by little, our civilization. I don't want to sound racist. I'm brown, so I can be racist. Nobody will say anything. Sorry. But the truth here is, We have a very beautiful countries, and we welcome everybody, and we love the Muslim communities, and we would like to share with them the message of the gospel. We would like to tell them about Christ and how much Jesus loved them. The issue here is, if you ever try to cross the line, if you ever try to use the hatred, abusing women, even hurting the LGBT community, hurting the minorities, taking away from how we educate our kids in the school, enforce false education in our kids under the name of equality or human right, we will stand against you. And I need to tell you something. I've been in prison before, and I will be in prison again, just to stand against evil. And by the way, the Canadian jail is like 5-star hotel comparing to the Egyptian prison. That's all.
I like the term. I'm going to use that in the future. The comfort and the conflict. The West shapes its worldview because we live a life of comfort. And this is Israel included up to October 7th. We had no choice in Israel. You have to fight for what you know is right. And I think the West is sort of reluctant. You look at the life of Christianity outside of the West. They consistently suffer under the hand of Islam and other religions. Why is the West struggling to see that? Why do people struggle to act on it? Why do they struggle to point out the true evil that exists there?
It's a choice above all. You have to know ignorance is a choice. When I had to choose who I would become, which Lord I would follow, it was my choice.
Yeah.
But you need to understand that Christian, we have something very important quality that we see it as well in Israel. You don't know how strong we are until you throw us in hot water.
Yeah.
What's happened on October 7, one of the newspaper, the Jerusalem Post, did an interview, and in the interview, I said in the end of the interview, I would like to have a thank you letter to Hamas. And the reporter was like, what? I was like, I would like to thank Hamas. She was like, for what? I told her, for waking us up.
Yeah.
For showing us how much anti-Semitism we have in our Western society. To show us how ugly is the face of terrorism. To show us and to unite us.
Yeah.
Show us how strong is the Jewish people when they are under attack. They ignited, they become united. The truth here is, every persecution that we face will make us more stronger, will make us more powerful. Believe me when I tell you, even when they try, God will always interfere to protect us and will come out of the fire with much stronger will and desire.
I agree 100%. I think you say this beautifully. We're reminded that following Christ is carrying the cross, it's an act of suffering and unpleasantness. And at the same time that Hamas gave us, the extreme Muslim violence gave us a wake-up call, a moment of clarity to understand the reality we live in. And I felt it in Israel. It was a very extreme reaction of suddenly understanding, wait a minute, we've been asleep. This is what we're really facing. This is the evil that we're facing. We must unite against it.
In every genocide, in every conflict, you will see the most ugly humanity, face of humanity.
Yeah.
The people that are committing all of these crimes. You will see ISIS raping Yazidi girls and buying and selling them, and Christian girls.
Yeah.
But you will also see the people that will rescue them. You will also see the people that will win the battle, even if they are not in the history books. You will see the people that they will not give up. I was interviewing somebody in the Nova not that long time ago, and she was telling me about Ben. Well, I don't know who is Ben. Ben, young man that was able to rescue people in his car and get them out of the Nova. But after he delivered the first group, he went back. And he did it again. And then the third time he was shot and killed. Now, nobody knows his last name. I don't know his last name. No, but I can assure you that I maybe will read about him at some point in an article, but there will not be school or hospital under his name. There will not be, something big under his name.
Yeah.
But you will always see the heroes. My dear brother, when there is a genocide or massacres like this, I can assure you, you will see the worst of mankind, but you will also see the best of mankind.
Yeah, on a personal level, I agree with you. I feel personally concerned about the collective world being able to speak up against what's right, against what's evil, and for what's right. And I often find myself disappointed with the lack of international response to evil that happens around the world, or the cherry picking of events to sort of delay on. Only when it happens in Gaza, only when it happens elsewhere do people actually want to respond. I want to ask you a question about the Christian faith in the Middle East. You yourself, come to Christ as a Muslim in Egypt, and countless other people have done the same in Muslim countries. And you describe the suffering, you describe the torture that you experienced. What is happening to those who are coming to Christ in other countries today?
You was talking about the collectively. You believe in the collective effort.
I see the problem in the collective.
The problem with the collective is start by me and you.
Yeah.
So it have to be, fix first of all who you are. God care more about the who more than the where.
Yeah.
So fix who you are first, and once you are fixed, once you fix yourself, your family, your kids, then you will be able to put the collective together.
I agree.
The people in the Middle East, or the people in Africa or Asia, the people that have been persecuted right now, the church has been built on their sacrifice and their blood. Their blood is not in vain. Their blood is not in vain and will never be in vain.
Yeah.
Let me just explain that. These are the people that changing our world today. These are the examples that the Bible is still alive and God is still with us. I went to Pakistan and there was a lady, her son was killed in front of her, 12 years old. She was sitting down on the floor. So I wanted I want to investigate what's happened to the child. It was part, because we go to every war zones and every persecution level. She looked at me and she said, why God did not stop the killing of my son? Do you know how many times I was asked this question? Why God did not interfere? Why God didn't stop October 7? Why God did not stop the Holocaust? Why God didn't stop September 11? Yeah. Why God did not? It's like it's God's fault.
What do you say?
God never promised us. I told her mother, God never promised us life free of trouble.
Yeah.
But He promised that we will prevail. He never promised us a life free of persecution, but He promised that we will win in the end. He never promised that He will be early, but He also never promised that He will be late. He is always on time.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that concept of understanding the call for suffering or the need for sacrifice is something that it's so universal around the world. And when people click with that message and you present it beautifully, when you understand that God is true to His promise, but He never said it was going to be easy, that's where things really click in an incredible way. And I want to ask you personally, as we're sort of wrapping up, you've been doing this, you've been telling your story, you've been encouraging people for over 20 years at this point, again and again and again. What is it that gives you the energy and the hope and the joy when you wake up in the morning? What is it that you care about that keeps you going?
When we rescue one soul,
yeah,
what keeps me going is when one of the Yazidi girls that we rescued, she was 9 years old. In this day we rescued 16 girls, and one of them was 9 years old. And they used to rape her up to 20 times a day.
It's
9
terrible.
years old. ISIS used to rape her. When I was talking to the girls, the mom told me, please do not get close to her. When any man get close to her, she will scream. So I couldn't breathe when I heard her story. So I went outside and I came back. And when I came back, I went down on my knees in front of the 14 girls. And I told them, I need to ask your forgiveness. They said, you rescued us. Forgiveness for what? I told them, as a man, I want you to forgive me. Can you forgive me for what my kind did to you? As I'm saying this, I'm feeling two little hands hugging me from behind. And I'm looking, it was the 9 years old. That's what kept me alive.
That's so touching.
That's what get me out of the bed every day. When one of them looked at me and she said, what God do you worship? I told her, Christ. Why? She said, whatever God you follow, I will follow, because your God is a God of mercy. That's what kept me energy. And I need to tell you something. Let's have a big room full of darkness. Huge room full of darkness, huge. But let's have a small little light, the candle, small little, itsy bitsy like that. Doesn't matter how big is the darkness. This small little candle will light the whole room, I promise you. Not maybe strong light, but light will always be taking over.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the definition of darkness?
Lack of light.
Lack of light.
Yeah.
So we will always have the light in our hearts. And there is always hope. I promise you that. Doesn't matter what will happen tomorrow. Here is my message to everybody listening to us. We are facing a strong enemy. We are facing strong army. We're facing strong weapons.
Yeah.
I no underestimate my enemy. But we have the Lord Almighty. I promise you that after every night there is new morning carrying new day.
Yes.
After every storm there is sunshine. And after every persecution there is victory in Jesus' name. I promise you that they can kill the believers, but they cannot kill the belief of our heart.